Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you in another video. All right, so I'm thinking about the play-in tournament games tonight between the Miami Heat and Chicago Bulls, and then the other would be the Timberwolves and the Thunder. Here's what I'm thinking right now. First of all, I want to talk about the Thunder and the Timberwolves game first. Those two teams haven't played each other since December. They don't know one another. OKC has had a lot of change since then as it pertains to certain players have stepped forward and taken on bigger roles. Both of the Jalen Williams are different players than then. Um, several other guys. Poku's now out. Giddy is 100% healthy. I don't know if he was the last time they saw one another. SGA, same thing. So it's like this is a different team than what the Minnesota Timberwolves last saw, and vice versa, of course. Half of the Timberwolves team is different. They now since acquired Mike Conley. D'Lo's gone, although he was hurt in the final matchup that they played with one another. As I checked the stats on that one. But this is going to be a very interesting matchup between two teams that haven't seen each other in months and are not the same squad that they were when they last saw one another. So for me, I'm just curious to see if Anthony Edwards is going to be 100% tonight, because he's definitely going to have to deal with a physical matchup with Lou Dort. Is probably going to be the assignment there. And that's going to be a tough matchup when you're dealing with something already with your shoulder. He's coming off an anemic performance against the Lakers. Where he did sustain that injury. So, if he can't overcome Lou Dort, I don't see any way the Thunder lose this matchup when I consider just what type of piece Dort is actually going to be on Edwards tonight. If that is the assignment and it goes the way I think it's going to go, that can be the story right there. Because they're going to need Anthony Edwards to play well if they're going to win this game, in my opinion. Because I envision foul trouble for Rudy Gobert and Karl Towns with Giddy and SGA and, Baby Magic Johnson, as I call him, J-Dub. It's going to be a lot of dribble penetration and playmaking and fouling going on, as the Timberwolves are one of the more fouling teams in the league. So they're sending a good OKC Thunder team to the line. And in that case, that could be a dangerous thing. That's kind of how I see that game going. But one has to understand that there's a bit more experience on the Timberwolves side of things. And they do have some feisty players that can take advantage of an anemic shooting performance if OKC doesn't have it going tonight. But at the end of the day, the best closer on the floor, in my humble opinion, is SGA. And I expect if this game is close, he's going to shut it down and close it out. So that's my prediction. I think ultimately OKC is going to take this game. It's going to be a lot of turnovers tonight. I expect both teams to do that because both of these teams can play defense. And that's the thing. The Timberwolves defense is going to be important. Rudy Gobert will be returning tonight. How are they going to incorporate him into what they're doing? Is that going to be a distraction? Will the chemistry be right? How is Kyle Anderson going to play tonight? Because he was excellent against the Lakers. 14 assists, 4 blocks, 4 steals. I think he had like 16 points, something like that. He was absolutely phenomenal on both sides of the floor. How is he going to play tonight? If he continues to play that way, he could carry the Minnesota Timberwolves himself with the various things that he's able to do. So, I don't know. Sometimes you press the right button with your team. You never know. That punch that Rudy gave him might have been what he needed to vault him into a different space. And if he's somebody else tonight, coupled with a good playing Mike Conley, coupled with a hot shooting Taurean Prince, this OKC team, we've watched them lose a lot of games. With all due respect to them, sometimes they just roll over. And you could totally see that happen tonight on the road. But they're going to have a chance to prove that they have heart. SGA said he's coming, he's ready for war. I'd expect that if there's a deficit of any kind, he's going to be coming back. He and the rest of those boys have plenty of abilities in their back pocket to erase any deficit. So I don't expect any deficit would be safe if for some reason the Timberwolves are doing well. No scoring drops that the Timberwolves are capable of. Some credit the Laker defense. Others credit just anemic shooting. Me personally, I looked at it as the Timberwolves not necessarily having a whole lot of continuity with a bunch of players missing for the very first time in that game. So it was kind of hard for them to get any offense going at all. Based on that, that's how I looked at it. But I didn't give my team enough credit defensively. Some would say that's fine. Either way, I think that if that carries over into this game, OKC doesn't have those problems. They're going to score the ball. They're going to score a lot. but I don't know that they play as good a defense as the Minnesota Timberwolves. I don't think they do as a team. But then I look at that Dort piece and I say, well, if you're looking at the numbers, you realize that Dort wasn't always there. He's there now. Again, Jalen Williams, we're talking about Jay Will, the other player. He has a more prominent role. He's a defensive piece. It's going to be blocking shots and things of that nature to help on the D. So it's kind of like the team has grown as the season has progressed, and some of those earlier numbers are still attached to the team. Doesn't necessarily mean that's who they are right now. So what happens when you got a bunch of young kids in prominent roles that are getting better fast? So that's what you have with OKC, man. They are a different team than they were 3 months ago when they saw this team last. And I think this team, missing Naz Reid, obviously missing Jaden McDaniel, I think those two pieces not being on the floor tonight are just going to make it a little too tough for the Minnesota Timberwolves to put the right pieces on the floor enough of the time to keep up with this deep and fast-paced OKC team. And with Gobert coming back, I don't know what he's going to contribute tonight, but if he plays well and spirited, he can make up a difference. If he's a 20-point scorer, I always tell people, if Gobert is scoring over 20 points, Minnesota has a good chance of winning the game. Now, I also look at Karl Anthony Towns and say, he had an excellent game against the Lakers. High efficiency, and that's still a player, in my opinion, that is getting better based on his conditioning and just flat out his age. He's still a player that's, believe it or not, still getting older. His upside exists when you consider Karl Towns. I don't think people realize that, but I think he's going to become an even more accurate shooter. And he's becoming one of those guys like Kevin Durant who potentially could develop into somebody who doesn't need a lot of shots to get 30 points. And if he can turn into that kind of player, he's just going to ascend. I just think the Minnesota Timberwolves need to utilize him in a way that allows him no responsibilities defensively and every opportunity to shoot the three like a guard would if he were a J.J. Redick type shooter, because that's exactly who I think Karl Towns actually is. He needs to be shooting like 9 to 10 threes a night because he's one of the best shooters in the league. And they just don't utilize him enough for that. But I think they're trying to by bringing Rudy Gobert in. And I think this could be the beginning of something because we realize he's been out all season long pretty much with this injury. Or well, not all season, but since the All-Star break, he's been missing majority of the time. And the idea that they had about him and Rudy Gobert being on the floor with one another is something that we could actually see manifest more so tonight than we've probably seen over the last several weeks because of the fact that Karl Towns, well, he said he was hurt with the knee, but he was able to play and he's playing better, and then Rudy will be there tonight. So I look at this team and I say they're up against it. I don't think they're necessarily a better team than OKC, but Karl Towns, Anthony Edwards, they're wildly great players when you really consider what their strengths are. They can really, really go crazy. So if SGA and Giddey aren't matching the performances they had in the previous game, they're going to need J-Dub to step up and play better because he didn't play well in that last game. But if they can have all three of those guys play well and they can get the shooters and all those other guys playing the way that they need to play, I think they can come into Minnesota and ultimately make me look great in regards to my initial pick. But I think this game is up in the air. You can go all different kinds of ways. And Minnesota has some really feisty pieces that are going to play defense. So, my pick is OKC, but I think it really go in either way. And in the other matchup, the Miami Heat, as I told people, I think the Miami Heat are a team that plays best together. Just like I say about my own squad, the sum of their togetherness and their parts ultimately make them who they are. But they've gotten significantly older, significantly less defensive, and I just think overall their roster is really bad. As I just looked at it just now, the pieces that they used in the previous matchup against the Bulls about 2 weeks ago, they pushed everything to the top. It was only about 6 players who got the majority of their minutes, and the rest of their guys just did not give them no production whatsoever. They went to Max Strus. He shot like 5 of 14 threes or something like that, and the rest of their bench was just non-existent against those Bulls, and they lost by 15 or 20 points, something like that. Zach LaVine is going to have his way with this roster. At the end of the day, that's what I see there. Just like he had his way with the last team he played, he's going to have his way with this one. Because at the end of the day, there's really nobody there that I respect can stop him. Jimmy Butler is not going to be able to do that at this stage. Tyler Hero, you don't go to for that. Gabe Vincent, from what I understand, is questionable tonight. And I wouldn't say he's going to be able to stop him. Who are you putting on it? That's what it really comes down to. Who's going to slow him down? Victor Oladipo is not going to be able to do that anymore. You're obviously not going to, Max Strus. He plays defense, but he's not going to stop Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine should go for about 35, 40 points tonight. He really should. He should run it all the way up because it's just going to be runaround time for him, basically. He's midair all night. And you know DeMar DeRozan is going to pick them apart. He's going to offset some of what Jimmy does. So then you look at the Bam Adebayo versus Vucevic matchup. I mean, Vucevic is no slouch. And Bam Adebayo tends to not want to score the ball. So I just look at situations there, and I'm like, okay, Kyle Lowry went for like 20-something points in the last matchup. In the last game, rather. But a lot of those shots were like trick shots and him falling and the ball just kind of falling into this, rolling into the air. I mean, I don't watch him a lot, but a lot of those shots looked like they were just trick shots that he was hitting and getting to the line. So Kyle Lowry, can I rely upon him to be the majority of the scoring tonight? You know, maybe. He always tends to overachieve as far as I can see. He's always somebody who plays better than I expect him to, but I just don't see nothing there. You know, I look at Kevin Love over the hill, man. It's like, what do you want me to do? You want me to believe Kevin Love going for 35 tonight? No. It's on too much is on Jimmy and Tyler to give you the bulk of the scoring. And since they don't trust Duncan Robinson, he can't score for you. You know, it's that kind of thing. So it's like, I look at that Miami Heat, I look at Udonis Haslem, is he going for 35 tonight, 25 tonight? Like, who is going to keep up with that Bulls team? I look up and down the roster of that Bulls squad, and I just see length. Not necessarily power forwards where they need them, but they got Pat Will, so they can go to him when they want to get away from that small ball stuff. Vucevic holds them down with rebounding and scoring and stuff of that nature. And then they have defenders in the guard spots who are going to attack Jimmy, who are going to attack Tyler, who are going to attack Kyle. You know, Patrick Beverley going to be all over Kyle Lowry, and he can keep up with him because they basically in the same space right now. So it's like, I just see headaches for them. What is Caruso going to be doing? Roaming around, defending whoever he wants, probably double teaming Jimmy. I just don't like the matchups there. I don't. As I've told people before, and I truly believe this, the Miami Heat need to blow it up. Club Lamo, man. And I've heard the argument for trying to trade away some of the other pieces and just keeping maybe Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler, or Bam Adebayo and Jimmy Butler, that kind of thing. That's cool. Because I see the fruit and want to keep like Tyler. I would want to keep Tyler Hero on my squad if I'm the Heat. Even though his contract looks kind of funny to me, I still like where he's going upside-wise. And I like the fact that he was drafted there, et cetera, et cetera. I like what he potentially looks like against Jovic. Not against, but in a rotation with Jovic. He and Tyler Hero are probably lethal scorers in year 2025 or something like that. But you got to figure out how to get there without this falling apart, because right now you're just in nowhere land and your asset class looks terrible because it's how you've handled it. But that's easily fixable. All you got to do is just invest in some young G League talent. I mean, you're in South Beach. It's easy to get people there. You'll find ways to get in assets just like the Lakers did. But they have to invest in their player development and stop bullcrapping around with that roster, man. Asking 30-year-old role players to just keep doing it over and over again like they've had some NBA championship success or something. You ain't, no, it's never happened. In the bubble, you were able to get to the finals, but that's not an indicator that you need to keep these same players from that era who were role players, who were kind of cool but basically inefficient shooters, just continuing to be on your roster. It doesn't make any sense. It's like, I don't know. I don't watch these players well enough. I've seen Gabe Vincent play well. I've seen Caleb Martin play well. I've seen Max Strus play some excellent defense. Like, I've seen these guys play well. But, like, what is the upside of these individuals? Can they get me anything? If I want to shop them for anything at all, will I get anything back? Udonis Haslem, that's like 4 pieces I can't do nothing with. And then Duncan Robinson, that's dead weight. That's a piece I got to trade something with to get rid of. So that's like 5 dead weight pieces that can't do nothing for me in trade. You see what I'm saying? So that's the problem with the Heat. I just see garbage up and down the roster. Kyle Lowry's contract's dead weight. You know what I'm saying? And then you're asking Jimmy and Bam to carry that nonsense, to drag that nonsense. It's just garbage. It's garbage. It's not being given enough, whatever the word would be. They're not being held accountable over there in Miami. They're not. Pat Riley has been doing things the wrong way for a little while now. Okay, let's just be honest. Nobody want to say it. Nobody want to say it because they've been able to overachieve with the way that they play. Pick and plug defensive players who are scrappy and hardcore. But you can't let them dudes age. You can't let them dudes age and not do nothing for player development while the whole field is developing players around you. That's a no-go. It's a no-go. A lot has gone wrong in Miami. And I think I'm the only person that's really verbalizing it this way, because a lot of individuals still believe in the top heaviness of the NBA. But if they're actually looking at how things should be done, that is garbage. Like actual garbage in Miami right now. And they need to blow it up. So that's what I have to say. They may very well win the play-in tournament game tonight. They ain't got nothing to do with nothing, y'all. They have no assets. And that's the bottom line. So that's what I got to say about that. Of course, I picked the Chicago Bulls to win that game. And I hope, for the sake of the Miami fan base, they do. Because if this thing fails tonight, hopefully that will prompt some change in Miami. Pat, you got to get with the times, man. This is not the old school. You cannot do this anymore. You have got to get some young talent in there right now, man. A lot of second-round pick acquisitions, cash consideration, buy a second-round pick type stuff right now. That's what I would be doing. Get Mickey Harrison, I think that's the owner's name. Respect. I would get a couple $1 million and just buy second-round picks from scratch. I would literally do that. And then just pick and plug and find yourself an Austin Reeves. Find yourself a Kyle Kuzma. That is what Miami needs. You need your THTs. Y'all got to start doing that. That's what's going to get you out of that hole. Same thing with Minnesota. That's what's going to get you out of that hole. Besides trades. And some of those trades wouldn't be wise to make right now while you have no assets, because they're going to lowball you for those trades because you have no assets. So, again, this is your out. Player development, as I always preach. So, that's more important to me for those two franchises than winning this game. Much more important. Minnesota can lose this game tonight and be cool because they need to start this process. That's what's most important. They got the fast track to it with a bit more young talent. But Miami loves their stars, and they want to keep those guys. So they got to get those assets up, man. And they've got to get rid of some of this stuff that cannot do anything for them. It's time. It's time. Dallas, too. Dallas, too. It's a lot of teams like this. Those three. Yeah, you start that process right now. You'll be happy you did. So that's what I got to say, man. I hope everybody enjoys the play-in tournament games. Chicago, OKC, my picks. That's what I got to say. Video 44. Thank you all for watching. Out.